What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Stocks by the Numbers, and shout out to all the boys in the Discord, because if you have been in the Discord, you have been doing extremely well, especially this week. Been making some great calls, so shout out to everyone in the Discord, taking part in the community, taking advantage of some of these short-term trades that I'm calling out here, and obviously another shout out to everyone watching. If you are not in the Discord, yeah, maybe you want to get in the Discord, but that's up to you. It's fine. If you're more of a long-term player, you don't need short-term call-outs. Totally understandable. You can just hang out, watch the videos, get the recommendations, and double-check them, do your due diligence on your own end. And if you like the idea, then obviously you go in. But this company, doing a quick how'd I do let's review video, because this is a company that is now technically at all-time highs and is now in what we call uncharted waters, which means that technically really anything can happen. And the company that we're talking about is CBOE, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. Now, I made a video about this company towards the end of December of last year, and I know that it's a less popular company, and a lot of people do not know that these actual exchanges trade public. The New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, NDAQ, you have CBOE, the options exchange here. And basically, what happens with this company is there's the options exchange, right? So the more options volume there is, the more like micro-transactional fees that they're getting for the options volume. And obviously that's what consistently increases their revenue and their profits and everything like that. So the company, as you see here, earnings top estimates, numbers were pretty good, and obviously we see a high of 147.37, and this was the long-term trend line I'll get at in a second. But right now 147.37, and in my opinion, I do believe it can go a heck of a lot higher. And in the short term, perhaps you can see something maybe like even like a 157, 158, 160 level before it may continue to like pull back and try to retest and bounce off these support levels. But as you can see right here, blue arrow, this candle right here, a little hard to see. Low, mid to low 120s was when the video was made, so probably like 122, 123-ish. And as you can see right there, we had a little dip down, big rise up, big dip down, and then obviously the massive explosion getting back up to that long-term trend line, and that's where it tried to fight and stay above. And then we had a couple of retracements here on the fib. This was, as you see here, May going into the June and July rally, and of course numbers come out, and actually revenue slightly light here for the company, but it's the consistency of what they're doing and what they actually bring to the table, which is why traders and investors have been rewarding this company, especially over the long term. So here, made the video again back in the 120s. Now the stock up here almost hitting 150. So, you're talking what, like 20 points and change on a 120 stock. So again, the return was not astronomical. However, keep this in mind as well. You were getting paid a dividend this entire time to own it, right? So if you got in here when I told you to, you got 2 dividend payments here, 50 cents a share, along with roughly 1/6, which is 16.7% return over the last 7.5 months. So that's what you would have made, obviously. 2 dividend payments and roughly 16+% return overall on your principal. And I just want to back it up here. Just look at this uptrend, okay? Look at this uptrend. Again, as I mentioned in the video, and I know it didn't get a lot of views, because believe me, I know this isn't a company a lot of people are searching for multiple reasons. They may not be familiar with it. They just may not know, again, that these exchanges are publicly traded. And of course, as we see here, the stock a little bit more expensive per share. So, if you're a smaller day trader and you've been focusing on stocks, $5, $10, $20 a share, maybe doing some, like some covered call plays, or, selling some put credit spreads or whatever, then obviously this is not, something you're really looking for. But just look at what's going on here over time, right? This is why I did the video on it. And this is why, even moving forward, believe it or not, even up here, this is something that should definitely be on your watch list. And this is, as you can see, again, with the dividends and with the slow, steady, stable growth, this, again, is something that I mentioned as a phenomenal long-term investment. But you can see basically bouncing off of this bottom trend line multiple times, and then I drew this this trend line across here on the top, and as you see, we'll zoom back in, and as you see, we had multiple tests getting to that top trend line, and now you're having the big breakthrough. And a lot of people may not understand, but again, this was a long-term ascending triangle that we're seeing here, and an ascending triangle is bullish, and the stock will most likely break up and break out on the technical side anyway. But this is what we're seeing here, and this is why I said several months ago that I like the company. Again, I was familiar with it. I know you may not be familiar with it, but up over 4.25% today. Good news, and still looking good. Switching over here to stock charts. Keeping an eye on the daily here, and you can see RSI now getting a little high, right? Now we're up to almost 67.25. That's why I think we rose up, we broke higher, and now we may potentially, the top Bollinger Band sitting here a little below 145.5, so now it's still at 146. So we could see about a 50-cent drop, and it could close right at that top Bollinger Band. But look at the MACD, right? Because it was technically in a downtrend and then may have began starting to rise coming into these earnings, you know, expecting some decent options volume reports, which obviously happened. And now what we're seeing here is that we may have a potential MACD cross. So we're seeing a situation now where we could kind of flatten out maybe for a day or two if it wants to. But in my opinion, I really do believe it's going to go higher. Now, this is a company that does not have as much volume on the options as a lot of other symbols we've been looking at. And usually the spreads on the options themselves, which the spread is the difference in price between the bid and the ask on an option. And the spreads may be a little bit larger, which of course means even if you get executed at the mid price, you're going to immediately, you know, be down a chunk. But over the long term, I do like it. And if I was to potentially buy longer term calls on this situation, if I did see a slow pullback to like this mid Bollinger Band over the next week or two, maybe down at like 142 or something like that, obviously your calls would be down. But again, company's been reporting some decent numbers, so chances are they're going to bounce off of that, and I would consider averaging down. Switching over here to the weekly. And as we see here, top Bollinger Band 144.81. I don't know if we're going to drop that much, but potentially, again, that top Bollinger Band on the daily, about 145.5. That sounds about right, in my opinion. Right here, the RSI, as we see up here, approaching 64.25. Right? So these RSI numbers, again, very close to that 70 benchmark. Now, again, that 70 benchmark is just that. It is just a benchmark. There is no guarantee that the second that RSI touches 70 or pops up to 71.5, the stock is immediately going to reverse and U-turn and start to sell off. So you could very well see some continued rises from here, even if it wants to pause for a day or two, because the RSI technically could still keep climbing and could still go higher. And the one thing we love about slow and steady rising stocks is look at our moving average here, the 200-day. We come down here to, where is this? April of 21, right? And we're down, this is maybe like $90, $98, right? And now over the year, obviously it takes a long time, but again, this is 200-day moving average. And again, the 200 days refers to 200 trading days, not 200 consecutive days. But as you see here, over time, now our 200-day is 111. So what that means is now that is almost like your ultimate bottom support level. See how even when the stock pulled back and tanked here throughout basically the first half of 22, you can see it came down all the way to that moving average, was bouncing around, and then took the bounce off of that support level. So that is a very good sign. And of course, your 50-day moving average, as we see over here, maybe looking like 117, 118 and change, had a little dip down and is now rising up roughly 10 points above that, sitting at 128.12. So these are all very, very good signs. And even here, you can see before dipping down and then having the run up with earnings, you can see the stock pulled back to this mid Bollinger Band, and that's where it bounced up and began to climb higher. So we're seeing, in my opinion, a lot of very, very strong supporting technicals to make a case for CBOE. And again, this ascending triangle with this breakout here basically at the apex after this report, again, you can see the stock, immediately on the reaction, we ran up and bounced off that line, and then we ran up to, what is this, maybe like 146.32, and then you can see we dropped down and bounced even higher. Now, remember, as you see here with this big drop with these big red candles, this is when the market completely pulled back. And what do we see here? CBOE dropped maybe about 2 points and is now just slowly and steadily climbing back up, going to retest this fib, in my opinion, of 146.21. And again, we are now in uncharted waters, which means the stock can literally do potentially anything. So after it gets to this fib level, if it breaks up higher, you can potentially see it jump up to 150. Anything can happen. So again, I know sometimes it's not always the best idea to go into a stock when it just ran and popped and is up nicely on a day. Totally understandable. However, I think even if you start to piece your way in here at the top and you see a sell-off of a few dollars, obviously if you're fortunate enough to have the liquidity, you can continue to piece your way in and average your price down, and more than likely over the years you will be up. And again, the whole time you're getting paid a dividend to own it. So I just wanted to do a quick update video here because I actually saw the stock trending for a second, and I saw the pop. And now looking at the chart, I see the breakout above that ascending long-term triangle. So overall, from the time I made the video, again, roughly 7.5 months ago, feather in the cap, this one was a good call. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But again, just the overall story behind the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, symbol CBOE, might just be too good to pass up, because chances are everyone watching this video has either been involved with options or is currently involved with options. So why not just invest in the house, right? So I'll end it there. Once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Like the video, thumbs up, algorithm, share the video, helps me get more eyes on the channel. And, of course, our handshake agreement, push the subscribe button. I will continue to do the How Do I Do Let's Review series. We will try to find new situations for both the short and long term. If you want to come into Discord, again, if I have any scalp trades or any day trades that I like, I try to call them out in the Discord so everyone can make a couple of bucks. I will do all of that for you. Just do me a favor. Push the subscribe button. That is how you help me help you. But moving forward, more importantly, I understand that markets are rocky and they're volatile and they're very uncertain. So I want to wish everyone success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to catch you guys in the next video.